The text message arrived at 11:47 p.m. while I was grading papers in my home office. A photo of my wife Marta sprawled across silk sheets that definitely weren't ours, her blonde hair tousled, wearing nothing but a smug smile and my wedding ring. The caption read, "Some trust, some don't." Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. I'm Colin Mercer, 44 years old, high school gym teacher, former Army sergeant, and apparently the world's biggest fool. 22 years of marriage, 2 kids, a mortgage, and this is what I get. A selfie from my wife's affair delivered like a pizza order. My phone buzzed again. This time it was a FaceTime call. Against every instinct screaming in my head, I answered. Marta's face filled the screen, flushed and grinning. Behind her, I could see expensive artwork on unfamiliar walls and hear a man's voice. "Colin, baby, you look tense," she said, her voice thick with wine and something else I didn't want to identify. "I told you I was working late with Alex on the luxury car campaign." "Working late," I repeated, my voice flat. "Is that what we're calling it now?" A man's laugh echoed from somewhere off camera. Alex Drayton, no doubt, the smooth-talking owner of 3 luxury car dealerships and Marta's biggest client at the ad agency where she worked as creative director. "Oh, come on, Colin. Don't be such a prude," Marta continued, adjusting the sheet around herself. "We're all adults here. Some people can handle modern relationships, and some people—" She shrugged, letting the sentence hang. "Some people what, Marta?" "Some people are stuck in the past. Jealous, insecure." She turned the phone slightly, and I caught a glimpse of Alex in the background, tanned, silver-haired, wearing a bathrobe that probably cost more than my monthly salary. He waved mockingly at the camera. "Hey there, Coach," Alex called out, using the nickname with deliberate condescension. "Thanks for sharing." The call ended. I sat in my office for 20 minutes, staring at the blank screen. 22 years. 2 kids, Ethan, 18, and away at college, and Zoe, 15 and asleep upstairs. A house we'd bought together when we still believed in forever. All of it reduced to a late-night humiliation session and a stranger's bathrobe. My phone buzzed with a text from Marta. "Don't wait up, having important client discussions, very important." I walked to the kitchen and made coffee I didn't want, trying to process what had just happened. Marta had been distant for months, working later, dressing differently, taking calls in private. When I'd asked about it, she'd accused me of being paranoid and controlling. "Trust issues," she'd called it. "Your last chance to chill, Colin." Turns out, trust is just another word for idiot. The house felt different now, like someone had rearranged all the furniture while I wasn't looking. Pictures of our family vacations lined the hallway, but they looked like evidence of a crime scene. Happy memories turned into elaborate lies. I checked my phone. No missed calls from Marta. No apologies, no explanations. Just silence and the lingering image of my wife in another man's bed, telling me some people could handle modern relationships. At 12:47 a.m., my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Check the dashcam footage from her car tonight. Trust me." The next morning, Marta waltzed into our kitchen at 7:30, wearing yesterday's clothes and acting like nothing had happened. She poured herself coffee and checked her phone, humming some tune I didn't recognize. "Morning, honey," she said without looking up. "Sleep well?" I was sitting at the kitchen table with my own coffee, having been awake since the FaceTime call ended. "Peachy. How were your important client discussions?" "Productive." She finally looked at me, her green eyes bright with something that might have been amusement. "Alex has some revolutionary ideas about luxury marketing. We worked until very late." "I'll bet you did." Our 15-year-old daughter Zoe came downstairs, backpack slung over her shoulder, earbuds dangling around her neck. She had my dark hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. "Morning, Dad." "Morning, Mom." She grabbed a granola bar from the counter. "Mom, you're wearing the same outfit as yesterday." Marta's smile tightened. I spilled coffee on my other clothes at the office. Had to borrow something from Vicky. Vicky was Marta's younger sister, a 38-year-old troublemaker who'd never met a drama she couldn't escalate. She worked part-time at the same ad agency and spent the rest of her time gossiping and stirring up problems. "Vicky has terrible taste in clothes," Zoe said, looking her mother up and down. "That dress looks expensive, though. New boyfriend?" I nearly choked on my coffee. My daughter, the human lie detector. "Don't be ridiculous, Zoe," Marta snapped. "I'm married to your father." "Technically," Zoe muttered, grabbing her lunch from the fridge. After Zoe left for school, Marta turned to me with crossed arms. "What did you tell her?" "Nothing. Kids aren't stupid, Marta. They notice things." "There's nothing to notice. You're being paranoid again." She moved closer, her voice softening into the tone she used when she wanted something. "Colin, baby, I know you've been stressed. Maybe you should talk to someone. A therapist. These trust issues aren't healthy." Trust issues. There was that phrase again. "Show me your phone," I said. "Excuse me?" "If there's nothing going on, show me your phone." Marta laughed, but it sounded forced. "I'm not showing you anything. I'm a grown woman, not a teenager. The fact that you're even asking proves my point about the trust issues." She grabbed her purse and headed for the door. "I'm going to work. Try to have a better day, Colin. Maybe hit the gym and work out some of that negative energy." After she left, I sat alone in the kitchen, surrounded by the remnants of our morning routine. Coffee cups, crumbs on the counter, the lingering scent of her perfume. Everything looked normal, but nothing felt right. I thought about the anonymous text from last night. Someone wanted me to check Marta's dashcam footage. The car had a security system that recorded everything. We'd installed it after a series of break-ins in the neighborhood. Marta kept the car in the garage. I had the access codes. 20 minutes later, I was sitting in my home office with the dashcam footage loaded on my laptop. The timestamp showed 11:30 p.m. from the night before. The camera faced forward from the dashboard, but the audio was crystal clear. Marta's voice. "He's so clueless, Alex. I literally sent him a picture of me in your bed, and he just sat there like a wounded puppy." Alex's voice. "Poor coach. Must be tough being married to a woman who's outgrown him. I outgrew him years ago, but the divorce lawyers are expensive, and I'm not ready to split assets yet. Plus, he's useful. Takes care of the house, the kids, all the boring stuff while I focus on my career. And your social life." "Exactly. God, you should have seen his face on that FaceTime call. I almost felt sorry for him. Almost." They both laughed. "Think he'll do anything about it?" Alex asked. "Colin? Please. He'll go to the gym, punch a heavy bag, maybe drink a beer, and feel sorry for himself. He's too much of a Boy Scout to cause real trouble. Besides, what's he going to do? He's a high school gym teacher. I'm the one with the career, the connections, the money. Lucky me. Lucky both of us. Some people can handle modern relationships, Alex. Some people are evolved enough to understand that marriage doesn't mean ownership, and some people..." She paused. "Some people are just Colin." More laughter. I stopped the recording and stared at the screen. 22 years of marriage, and this is what my wife really thought of me. A clueless Boy Scout who was useful for household chores and childcare while she lived her real life with other people. My phone buzzed with a text from Marta. "Working late again tonight. Don't wait up." I texted back, "Understood. Have fun with your important client discussions." She responded immediately. "Thanks, honey. You're the best." The best? Right. I forwarded the dashcam audio to my email and saved it in 3 different places. Then I called my old Army buddy Ray, who worked in private security and knew about these things. "Ray, it's Colin. I need a favor." Ray showed up at my house that evening with a 6-pack of beer and 20 years of friendship. We'd served together in Afghanistan, and he'd saved my life twice, once from an IED and once from a bad marriage to a woman who'd tried to clean out his bank account while he was deployed. "You look like hell," he said, settling into my kitchen chair. "Feel worse." I showed him the dashcam footage and played the audio. Ray listened without interrupting, his weathered face growing darker with each passing minute. When it finished, he was quiet for a long time. "How long has this been going on?" he finally asked. "Months, maybe longer. I've been an idiot." "No, you've been a husband. There's a difference." He took a long drink of beer. "What do you want to do about it?" "I don't know yet, but I'm done being the clueless Boy Scout." "Good, because I did some digging on your boy Alex after you called." Ray pulled out his phone and showed me a series of photos. 3 luxury car dealerships, big house in Riverside Estates, country club membership. But here's the interesting part. He's done this before. A lot of affairs with married clients. His own wife divorced him 2 years ago, took half of everything. So he's a professional home wrecker. Gets better. His business isn't as solid as it looks. Couple of insurance claims that didn't quite add up, some customer complaints about bait-and-switch financing, guys skating on thin ice. I studied the photos. Alex's mansion, his cars, his boat, everything designed to impress people like Marta. "There's something else," Ray continued. "Your wife's sister, Vicky. She's been asking around about Alex. Seems like she's got her own interest in him." That was interesting. Vicky had always been jealous of Marta's success, her marriage, her stability. If she was sniffing around Alex, it meant she saw an opportunity. "I need to talk to Zoe," I said. "Your daughter? Colin, don't drag the kids into this. She already knows something's wrong, and she's better with technology than both of us combined. Ray shook his head but didn't argue. He knew Zoe was sharp. When Zoe got home from school, I asked her to join us in the kitchen. She looked between Ray and me, reading the situation immediately. "Mom's cheating, isn't she?" she said, dropping into a chair. "What makes you say that?" "Dad, I'm 15, not 5. She's been acting weird for months. New clothes, new perfume, working late all the time. Plus, she's been mean to you. Meaner than usual." "Meaner than usual?" Zoe shrugged. "Mom's always been kind of selfish, but lately she's been treating you like you're stupid or something. It's gross." Out of the mouths of babes. "I need your help with something," I said, "but it has to stay between us." "Technology help?" "Smart girl." Zoe grinned. "What do you need?" An hour later, my 15-year-old daughter had walked me through the process of recovering deleted text messages, accessing cloud storage, and setting up discrete recording apps. She also showed me how to clone a phone's data if I could get physical access to it for 5 minutes. "This is so cool," she said. "It's like we're spies." "We're not spies, sweetheart. We're just trying to find out the truth." "Same thing. Can I help with the rest of it?" "The rest of what?" "Whatever you're planning to do to get back at her. Because you are planning something, right? You have that look." Ray laughed. "She's definitely your daughter." I looked at Zoe, my smart, loyal, fearless daughter who'd inherited the best parts of both her parents and none of Marta's selfishness. "Maybe," I said, "but nothing dangerous or illegal." "Boring," Zoe said, "but I'm still in." That night, Marta came home at 2 a.m., reeking of expensive cologne and wine. She slipped into bed thinking I was asleep, but I was wide awake, staring at the ceiling and planning. The next morning, she was gone before I woke up, leaving only a note. "Early meeting. Home late again tonight. Love you." I found her phone charger on the kitchen counter. She'd forgotten it in her rush to leave. At 10 a.m., she called me from work. "Colin, honey, I left my charger at home. My phone's dying. Can you bring it to me?" "Of course. I'll be there in an hour." "You're the best. Just leave it with Jake at the front desk." Jake was another of Marta's work friends, a spineless yes-man who'd probably been covering for her affair from the beginning. I drove to the ad agency with Marta's charger and Zoe's instructions fresh in my mind. 5 minutes of physical access was all I needed. Jake was exactly what I'd expected. Mid-30s, expensive haircut, fake smile. "You must be Colin," he said. "Marta talks about you all the time." "I'll bet she does." "She's in a client meeting right now, but I can get this to her?" "Actually, I was hoping to surprise her. Maybe I could wait in her office." Jake hesitated. "Well, she did say she'd be a while." "Just 5 minutes. I want to leave her a little note." "Sure, okay." Her office is down the hall, third door on the right. Marta's office was exactly what I'd expected. Sleek, modern, expensive. Awards on the walls, photos of successful campaigns, a single picture of our family tucked away in a corner like an afterthought. Her phone was on her desk, nearly over. I plugged in the charger and followed Zoe's instructions. The cloning process took 3 minutes. While it ran, I looked around her office. Her computer was password protected, but her notebook was open on the desk. Pages of handwriting, meeting notes, and phone numbers. One page caught my attention. A list of restaurants, hotels, and dates going back 6 months. A careful record of her affair with Alex. I took pictures of everything with my phone. The cloning finished just as I heard footsteps in the hallway. I unplugged her phone, left the charger, and walked out of the office. "All set," I told Jake. "Thanks for your help." "No problem. Marta's lucky to have such a thoughtful husband." "Yeah," I said. "She's real lucky." That afternoon, I sat in my home office and went through everything. Text messages, photos, emails, calendar entries. 6 months of detailed documentation of my wife's affair, her mockery of our marriage, and her plans for the future. The text messages were the worst part. Not just between Marta and Alex, but group chats with Vicky and Jake and other people I'd never heard of. All of them laughing about poor Colin and his trust issues. One message from Vicky particularly stood out. "How long are you going to keep him around? The poor guy looks like a kicked puppy every time I see him." Marta's response. "Until I'm ready to make a move. He's useful, and the kids need stability. Besides, it's kind of fun watching him try so hard to make me happy." Another from Jake. "Think he knows?" Marta. "If he does, he's too much of a coward to do anything about it. Colin's always been a follower, not a leader. It's why he's a gym teacher instead of anything important." I closed the laptop and walked to my garage, where I kept a heavy bag for working out. For 20 minutes, I hammered it with everything I had, thinking about trust issues and modern relationships and being useful. When I was done, my knuckles were bleeding and I had a plan. Some people can handle modern relationships. Some people are evolved enough to understand that marriage doesn't mean ownership. And some people are about to learn that Colin Mercer isn't nearly as harmless as they think. Saturday morning, I told Marta I was going to visit my brother in Chicago for the weekend, a lie that came surprisingly easily. She barely looked up from her coffee and phone. "That's nice, honey. I'll probably work most of the weekend anyway. Big campaign timeline." "I'm sure Alex appreciates your dedication." She glanced at me sharply, but I kept my expression neutral. After 22 years of marriage, I'd learned to hide my thoughts when necessary. "Have fun with your brother," she said, already turning back to her phone. I didn't go to Chicago. Instead, Ray and I drove to Alex's neighborhood, Riverside Estates, where the houses started at $500,000 and the security was more about keeping up appearances than actual protection. Alex lived in a modern monstrosity with too many windows and a circular driveway designed to showcase expensive cars. Currently, it featured a silver Porsche, a black BMW, and a red Ferrari that probably cost more than I made in 3 years. "Guy's compensating for something," Ray observed. We parked 2 blocks away and watched the house for 4 hours. Alex left at 2 p.m. in the BMW. At 3:30, a cleaning service arrived. At 5 p.m., they left. At 6:15, Marta's car pulled into the driveway. "There's your confirmation," Ray said. "Yeah." We waited until dark. Riverside Estates was the kind of neighborhood where people minded their own business as long as you looked like you belonged. Ray and I both wore dark clothes and moved with military precision, 2 middle-aged guys who could pass for maintenance workers or security personnel. Alex's garage was attached to the house but had a separate entrance. The lock was expensive but not military grade. Ray had it open in 90 seconds. The Ferrari was parked inside, gleaming under the garage lights like a red jewel. It was beautiful, pristine, and about to become a work of art. I'd stopped at a grocery store on the way and bought 20 pounds of raw shrimp and a gallon of milk that I'd left in my car trunk for 6 hours in the summer heat. The smell was already getting interesting. Ray kept watch while I went to work. I opened every vent in the car and distributed the seafood evenly throughout the interior. The spoiled milk went into the air conditioning system. For the finishing touch, I used a can of spray paint to write "Home Wrecker" across the windshield. The whole operation took 15 minutes. "Think that'll get his attention?" Ray asked as we walked away. "It's a start." Sunday morning, I was back home making breakfast when Marta returned from her work weekend. She looked satisfied and relaxed, humming that same tune from before. "How was Chicago?" she asked. "Educational? How was work?" "Exhausting. Alex is a demanding client, very hands-on." "I'll bet." My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "You son of a jerk. This isn't over." I showed it to Marta. "Weird. Wrong number, I guess." She glanced at the message, and I saw something flicker across her face. Recognition, maybe, or concern. "Probably just spam," she said, but her voice was tight. An hour later, Zoe came downstairs with her laptop. "Dad, you need to see this," she said, turning the screen toward me. It was a local Facebook group for Riverside Estates. Someone had posted photos of Alex's Ferrari with the caption, "Vandalism in our neighborhood. This happened to Alex Drayton's car sometime Saturday night. If anyone saw anything suspicious, please contact the police." The photos showed my handiwork in all its glory. The red paint on the windshield, the car doors standing open, and Alex himself in the background looking like he'd swallowed something unpleasant. The comments were even better. "Home wrecker? Wonder what that's about." "Alex always seemed like such a nice guy. Must be a misunderstanding. I heard he's been having problems with some woman's husband. Didn't his own wife leave him for cheating? Karma's a jerk." Marta was reading over my shoulder, her face getting paler with each comment. "That's terrible," she said. "Who would do something like that?" "Someone with trust issues, probably," I said. She stared at me for a long moment, and I could see the wheels turning in her head. Suspicion, calculation, fear. "Colin, you didn't what? I was in Chicago, remember? You can check with my brother if you want." I'd already called my brother and asked him to cover for me. He didn't ask questions. He'd never liked Marta anyway. "Of course not," Marta said quickly. "I just meant, it's such a coincidence." "Yeah, weird how these things work out." That evening, Alex called Marta while she was in the shower. Her phone was on the kitchen counter, and I answered it. "Marta?" Alex's voice was tight with anger. "No, this is Colin, her husband. Remember me?" Silence. "She's in the shower right now," I continued. "Washing off the weekend's work, I imagine. Should I have her call you back?" "Listen, you piece of—" "Careful, Alex. We're both adults here. Some of us can handle modern relationships, right? Some of us are evolved enough to understand that actions have consequences. I hung up before he could respond. When Marta got out of the shower, I told her Alex had called, but hung up when I answered. Probably a bad connection, she said, but she was texting furiously on her phone. That night, she slept on the couch, claiming she had a headache and didn't want to disturb me. I lay in our bed, staring at the ceiling and planning my next move. The Ferrari was just the opening act. I had 5 months of text messages, photos, and evidence to work with. I had allies in Ray and Zoe, and I had something Alex and Marta didn't expect: patience and a very good memory. Some people think gym teachers are just failed athletes who couldn't make it in the real world. Some people think we're harmless, useful, and too stupid to cause real trouble. Some people are about to learn otherwise. Monday morning brought the first real test of my new approach. Marta was getting ready for work, moving around the house with nervous energy. She'd been checking her phone constantly since Alex's call, and I could see the stress in her shoulders. "Everything okay?" I asked over coffee. "Fine, just work stuff." She paused at the kitchen counter, studying me. "Colin, about Saturday night." "What about it?" "Where exactly did you go in Chicago? What did you do?" I pulled out my phone and showed her photos I'd asked my brother to take. Pictures of us at a restaurant, a baseball game, his apartment. All time-stamped for Saturday evening. "We caught the Cubs game, had dinner at that steakhouse he likes." "Why?" Relief and confusion warred on her face. "No reason, just curious." After she left for work, I put the next phase into motion. Zoe had shown me how to access the ad agency's internal network using Marta's login credentials, which I'd captured when I cloned her phone. The agency had a digital display system in the lobby that cycled through their successful campaigns and client testimonials. It was designed to impress visitors and boost morale. At 10:30 a.m., during the busiest part of the morning, I uploaded a new slide to the rotation. It was the selfie Marta had sent me from Alex's bed, with the caption, "Some trust, some don't," in large, professional font. Below it, in smaller text, "Marta Mercer, Creative Director, always going above and beyond for our clients." The slide was programmed to appear every fifth rotation for exactly 90 seconds before deleting itself from the system. Long enough to be seen, short enough to avoid being traced. I was in my office at the high school when Marta called at 10:47 a.m. "Colin, we need to talk, now." "I'm teaching. What's wrong?" "Don't play stupid with me. I know it was you." "I have no idea what you're talking about, but you sound upset. Maybe you should take the day off. Work from home." "I can't work from home. I've been suspended pending an investigation." "Investigation into what?" "You know exactly what." "Marta, I'm worried about you. You're not making sense. Are you feeling okay?" She hung up on me. 20 minutes later, Jake called. "Mr. Mercer, this is Jake from Marta's office. I think there's been some kind of misunderstanding." "What kind of misunderstanding?" "Well, there was an incident this morning with our digital displays, and some people think... they're suggesting that maybe you were involved somehow." "Involved in what?" A photo appeared on our lobby screens. A personal photo of Marta. Very personal. The IT department is trying to figure out how it happened. That sounds terrible. I hope they find out who's responsible. "The thing is, Mr. Mercer, the photo was sent from Marta's phone to your phone last week. Our IT guy traced the metadata." "Jake, I'm a high school gym teacher. I don't even know what metadata means." "But if someone had access to both phones... Are you suggesting I hacked into a corporate computer system to embarrass my own wife? That's ridiculous. Why would I do something like that?" "Well, if you knew about... if you thought that maybe..." "Thought what, Jake?" Silence. "Jake, is there something you want to tell me about my wife?" "No, sir, nothing at all. I'm sure this is all just a big misunderstanding." "I'm sure it is. But maybe you should be more careful about the company you keep. People might get the wrong idea." I hung up and smiled. Jake was cracking already. That afternoon, I got a call from Mrs. Buckner, our gossipy neighbor who knew everything that happened within a 3-block radius. "Colin, dear, I hope you don't mind me calling, but I thought you should know. There are some very upset people at your house." "What kind of upset people?" "Well, Marta's there, and that sister of hers, and some man in an expensive car. They're having quite an argument in your driveway, very loud." "Thanks for letting me know, Mrs. Buckner. I'll head home." I arrived to find exactly what Mrs. Buckner had described. Marta, Vicky, and Alex were clustered around Alex's BMW in my driveway, voices raised in heated discussion. Several neighbors were watching from their windows. Perfect. I parked on the street and walked up the driveway with a big smile. "Hey, honey, you're home early. And Alex, good to see you again. How's the Ferrari?" Alex stepped forward, his face red with anger. You son of a jerk. I know it was you. I'm sorry. What was me? The car, the photo, all of it. You think you're clever, but I know exactly what you're doing. I looked around at my neighbor's windows, making sure I had an audience. Alex, I honestly don't know what you're talking about, but you seem very upset. Maybe you should calm down before you say something you'll regret. Regret? You want to talk about regret? Colin, Marta interrupted. Just stop. We know it's you. What's me? I'm completely lost here. Are you three having some kind of problem I should know about? Vicky spoke up for the first time. Don't act innocent. You've been stalking Alex, vandalizing his property, hacking into computer systems. Stalking? Hacking? These are serious accusations, Vicky. Do you have any proof? We don't need proof, Alex said. We know it's you. Well, if you're so sure, maybe you should call the police. I'd love to hear you explain to them exactly how you know I'm responsible for... What was it? Stalking and hacking? I pulled out my phone. Should I call them for you? I've got nothing to hide. The three of them exchanged glances. They couldn't call the police without explaining how they knew about the photo, which would mean admitting to the affair. That's what I thought, I said. Now, Alex, I'm going to have to ask you to leave my property. This is a family neighborhood, and you're disturbing the peace. This isn't over, Alex said, but he was already backing toward his car. Oh, I hope not, I replied. Things were just getting interesting. After Alex left, Marta and Vicky followed me into the house. Colin, we need to talk, Marta said. Sure, but first I should mention that Mrs. Buckner called to tell me about the shouting match in our driveway. She was very concerned. So were the Johnsons, the Pratts, and probably everyone else on the block. You might want to keep that in mind for future client meetings. Marta's face went white. You bastard! Language, honey. What would the neighbors think? That evening, after Vicky left and Marta locked herself in the spare bedroom, I sat down with Ray to plan the next phase. You're playing with fire, he warned. These people are getting desperate. Good. Desperate people make mistakes. What if they decide to fight back? Alex has money, connections. Let them try. I've got something they don't. What's that? The truth, and a very good memory for humiliation. Ray shook his head. Just be careful, Colin. This isn't Afghanistan. You can't just outflank the enemy and call it a day. Can't I? I thought about the look on Alex's face when I'd offered to call the police. The panic in Marta's eyes when I mentioned the neighbors. The way Jake's voice had shaken when he'd tried to accuse me of hacking. They were also used to thinking of me as harmless, useful Colin who would just take whatever they dished out. The gym teacher who was too much of a Boy Scout to cause real trouble. But Boy Scouts are prepared for everything, and after 20 years in the Army and 22 years of marriage, I was prepared for war. Some people can handle modern relationships. Some people understand that actions have consequences, and some people are about to learn that the quiet ones are the most dangerous. The final confrontation came 3 weeks later at the monthly parent-teacher mixer I'd organized for the school. It was a casual evening event designed to bring families together. Exactly the kind of wholesome community gathering where Marta liked to play the role of devoted wife and mother. She'd been walking on eggshells since the driveway incident, trying to figure out how much I knew and what I was planning next. The suspension from her job had been lifted after a week, but the damage to her reputation was done. Everyone at the agency knew about the photo, and the whispers followed her everywhere. Alex had been laying low, but I knew he wouldn't stay away forever. Men like him don't handle humiliation well. I'd sent personal invitations to everyone. Parents, teachers, school board members, and a few special guests. The event was held in the school gymnasium, my home turf, with tables set up around the basketball court and a small stage for announcements. Marta arrived at 7, dressed in her best outfit and wearing her most convincing smile. She worked the room like the professional she was, charming other parents and playing up her role as the successful career woman who still made time for family. Colin's so dedicated to his students, I heard her tell Mrs. Patterson, whose daughter was in my third period class. Teaching is such important work. I'm so proud of him. I watched from across the room, admiring her performance. 22 years of marriage, and she could still lie with a straight face. At 7:30, Alex walked in. He wasn't invited, of course, but that had never stopped him before. He scanned the room until he spotted Marta, then made his way over to her table. I saw her face change when she noticed him. Surprise, panic, and something that might have been anger. Perfect timing. I walked to the microphone on the small stage and tapped it for attention. Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for coming to our monthly parent-teacher mixer. Before we continue with dinner, I'd like to share something special with all of you. The room quieted down, all eyes turning toward the stage. I could see Marta in the crowd. her face pale with growing dread. As many of you know, my wife Marta works in advertising. She's very talented at creating presentations, and recently she's been working on a campaign about modern relationships and trust. I thought you might like to see some of her work. I nodded to Zoe, who was operating the projector from the back of the room. The lights dimmed, and the first slide appeared on the large screen behind me. It was the selfie from Alex's bed, but this time I'd added context. Screenshots of text messages, timestamps, and a detailed timeline of the affair. Everything laid out in a professional presentation format that would make any creative director proud. This is Marta's interpretation of modern marriage, I said into the microphone, my voice carrying clearly across the silent gymnasium. As you can see, she believes some people can handle evolved relationships where marriage doesn't mean ownership. Gasps and murmurs rippled through the crowd. I could see Marta trying to push through the tables toward the exit, but people were blocking her path, staring at the screen in shock. The next slide showed the dashcam audio transcript, with Marta's comments about me being clueless and useful highlighted in red. This is what my wife really thinks about our 22-year marriage, I continued. According to her, I'm too much of a Boy Scout to cause real trouble. Just a gym teacher who's good for taking care of the boring stuff while she focuses on her career and social life. Alex was trying to leave too, but Ray had positioned himself near the main exit. Other parents were pointing and whispering, recognizing him from the Facebook photos of his vandalized Ferrari. The final slide was a group photo from one of our family vacations with a simple caption, "Some people believe in trust, some people believe in commitment, and some people learn the hard way that actions have consequences." I turned off the microphone and stepped down from the stage. The gymnasium was buzzing with shocked conversations, people checking their phones, taking pictures of the screen. Marta finally broke free from the crowd and confronted me near the stage. "You bastard," she hissed, her careful composure finally cracking. "How could you do this to me? To us?" "Us?" I laughed. "There is no us, Marta. There hasn't been for months. You made that very clear in your text messages. This is insane. You've humiliated me in front of the entire community. I've told the truth in front of the entire community. There's a difference." Alex appeared beside her, his face flushed with anger and embarrassment. "You think this is over," he said. "You think you've won something?" "I think I've evened the score." "We'll see about that." He grabbed Marta's arm and tried to pull her toward a side exit, but she jerked away from him. "Don't touch me," she snapped. "This is your fault. If you hadn't been so careless, so arrogant." "My fault? You're the one who sent the photo. You're the one who wanted to play games. I didn't want to be exposed like this." They were arguing loudly now, drawing even more attention from the crowd. Parents were recording everything on their phones, capturing the complete breakdown of their affair in real time. "Excuse me," said a voice behind me. I turned to see Principal Martinez, along with 2 police officers. "Mr. Mercer," Martinez said, "we need to talk." "Of course. What can I help you with?" "There's been a complaint about harassment and public humiliation. These officers would like to ask you some questions." I looked at the officers, both of them parents of students I'd taught over the years. "Officers Johnson and Martinez," I said. "Good to see you. How are your kids doing?" "They're fine, Coach," Officer Johnson replied. "But we have to follow up on this complaint. Did you create and display that presentation without the consent of the people involved?" "I created a presentation using photos and messages that were sent directly to me, along with audio recordings from my own vehicle. Everything I showed tonight was either sent to me personally or recorded on my own property." "But you displayed private communications in a public setting," Officer Martinez said. "I displayed evidence of adultery and fraud. My wife has been lying to me, our children, and our community for months. She's been using marital assets to fund an extramarital affair, and she's been publicly humiliating me while pretending to be a devoted spouse." I gestured toward Marta and Alex, who were still arguing near the exit. As you can see, they're not exactly denying any of it. The officers exchanged glances. They'd both been through messy divorces themselves, and they could see the situation for what it was. "Look, Coach," Officer Johnson said quietly. "Technically, you didn't break any laws. Everything you showed was either sent to you or recorded on your own property. But this is going to get complicated fast." "I understand. I'm prepared for complicated." "What about your family? Your kids?" I looked across the room and saw Zoe talking to some of her friends' parents, explaining the situation with remarkable composure. She caught my eye and gave me a thumbs up. "My kids deserve to know the truth about their mother," I said. "They deserve better than living in a house full of lies." The officers took statements from everyone involved, but in the end, there was nothing they could charge me with. Everything I'd shown was legally obtained evidence of adultery, and public humiliation isn't a crime when it's based on truth. As the crowd began to disperse, I found myself standing alone in the gymnasium where I'd taught thousands of students over the years. The projector was still running, showing the final slide with our family photo. Marta and Alex had left separately, their affair effectively over now that it was public knowledge. Vicky had tried to slip out unnoticed, but several parents had cornered her with questions about her role in the situation. Jake had shown up near the end, probably sent by the ad agency to do damage control. He'd taken one look at the presentation and left without saying a word. Ray appeared beside me, grinning broadly. "Well, that was something," he said. "Yeah, it was." "Feel better?" I thought about it. 22 years of marriage, 6 months of lies, and 3 weeks of careful planning had led to this moment. Marta's reputation was destroyed, Alex was exposed as a serial adulterer, and everyone in our community now knew exactly what kind of people they really were. "You know what?" I said. "I really do." My phone buzzed with a text from Ethan, who was away at college. "Dad, Zoe sent me the video. I'm proud of you. Mom had this coming." Another text from Zoe. "Dad, you're officially the coolest parent at school. Can we get pizza?" And finally, one from an unknown number. "This isn't over, you son of a jerk." I showed the last message to Ray. "Alex?" he asked. "Probably. But it doesn't matter." "Why not?" I looked around the gymnasium one more time. At the basketball hoops where I'd taught kids to aim high, at the bleachers where parents had cheered for their children, at the stage where I'd just reclaimed my dignity after months of humiliation. "Because this is my house," I said. "My town, my job, my life. They were just visiting." I turned off the projector, packed up my equipment, and headed home to order pizza with my daughter. Some people can handle modern relationships. Some people are evolved enough to understand that marriage doesn't mean ownership. And some people learn that trust isn't a weakness, it's a weapon when wielded by someone who knows how to use it.